What's up, guys? Welcome back to my vlog. This is episode 3. Actually at Borgata right now in Atlantic City, not in my house, as you can tell. Just signed up for the 2-5 meetup game this Thursday, November 17th, featuring Ethan Yao, Mr. Pocket Force himself, aka Rampage. This is a really exciting event. This is the first meetup game in Atlantic City ever. Thought it would be a good time to film the intro while I'm here signing up. This episode, however, will still be from the Aria. Some pretty cool hands in this episode. One in particular that I'm curious for some feedback, so please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'll tell you which hand it is in the middle of the vlog. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, guys. I'm really enjoying making these videos. I'm loving how the channel's growing already. It really, like, every time I go in and check the view count and I see that you guys are actually watching and commenting, it really makes me feel good, and I hope that continues. So without further ado, let's get into the hands. In our first interesting hand, we have pocket tens. In middle position, 10 of diamond, 10 of hearts. There's one limper, and I open from middle position to 15. With 3 callers, both blinds plus the early limper, we're off to a flop. The flop comes 8 of diamonds, queen of clubs, and 2 of spades. When it checks to me, I fire for 22. The small blind folds, the big blind calls, but I actually missed it. I didn't quite see the big blind call. I see the limper fold, and I make a motion to fold, but the dealer luckily lets me know that there's another player still in the hand. Sometimes it can be hard to see based on where you're sitting at the table, the 1 seat or the 8 seat. So really thankful for the dealer here, kind of saving me from accidentally mucking my hand here. The turn brings the 7 of spades and it checks to me. I continue for 35. The villain calls. River's the 3 of clubs. At this point, I'm ready to just check it down, get to showdown. Spades missed, the straight missed, but our opponent didn't attempt a bluff here by checking it to us. If we're up against a queen, we'll just get called. If we're up against a missed draw, we'll just get a fold. No reason to bet. Second pair on this driver board, my hand has the exact thing my ex said I was missing, a high level of value. I check back, and we win against ace 8 of spades. That hand actually makes a ton of sense here, and had a lot of equity against us going down to the river. Happy to hold and take one down. In the next hand, we look down at the Rockets, pocket aces. Aces in the small blind. Oh, such a good feeling. There's a few limpers and the button makes it 15 to go. I raise to 35. Both middle position and the button call. The flop comes down, jack of diamonds, ace of clubs, 6 of clubs. An absolute beauty with aces. The only problem with this is having top set, especially when it's something like aces, kings, queens, is that it's very hard for our opponents to have much. When I c-bet, I go for a small sizing of $20, just looking to get called here. Middle position calls and the button folds. The turn is incredible. It's the 6 of hearts. As we have an iron lock on this hand, I check, giving him some rope to take the betting lead. He unfortunately does not take the bait and checks back pretty quickly. River's now the deuce of diamonds. So I think about how to make the most money in this situation and decide that the best way is to throw out a big bet, make it look a little bluffy, and hopefully induce a light call. I bet out $100. Middle position thinks for a little bit, looks unsure, but after a while, he eventually puts in the call. We table our hand and of course, take it down. Very happy I went with the larger sizing here, as I think it was the best way to get paid in that spot after my opponent checked back on the turn. We never get to see what our opponent had as he mucks, but I have to imagine it's a jack. There's no straight out there, no flush, and when he checks back the turn, it's highly unlikely he has a 6. Throwing out this big sizing was definitely the best way to get max value. In the next interesting spot, we look down at pocket nines in the hijack, 9 of diamond, 9 of hearts. I open to 15 and get called by the cutoff, the small blind, the big blind, and middle position. We're 5 ways to a flop of 6 ace ace. It checks around. I feel pretty good about my hand at this point. The turn is the 3 of clubs. Small blind leads for 15. Big blind calls, middle position folds, the cutoff calls, and I, of course, call as well. River is the 8 of hearts. It checks to me, and I actually consider throwing a bet out there. There's no straight, no flush, no cards higher than our 9s other than the pair of aces, but Just in case someone's trapping here, I exercise some pot control and check, cut off checks as well. I show, pretty confident I have the best hand in this spot, and we lose to a very sneaky ace-king in the small blind. I'd say we lost the absolute minimum on this one, as ace-king elected to play his hand very slow and does not get paid much. As a result, I likely would have called a small or medium river bet had he thrown one out there, but glad to show some restraint, pot control, and check that river back. In the next one, we look down at pocket jacks and under the gun +1. We've had a lot of pocket pairs today. Let's continue the trend here with jacks and see if we can get a good result. I open to 15, get called by only the button. We're heads up to a flop, 6, ace, 7, 2 hearts. I check and he checks back. Turn is the 10 of diamonds. After opponent checks back in position, I think he probably doesn't have the ace. So I bet out 20, and he makes the call. River is a beautiful jack of clubs. We may not always make a set, but it certainly feels like it happens more than it should on this particular trip. There are a few straights out there now, but the jack really only brings in king-queen. 8-9 got there on the turn already, and he didn't raise, so that seems unlikely. Not sure exactly what I'm targeting here. Hoping my initial read was wrong, I guess, and he does have an ace that will call a bet here. So I size up to $50 and he snap calls. That doesn't feel good. I turn over my set, and it's good. Likely an ace, and we got lucky with a suck out there on the river in this one as our opponent mucks without showing. I'm perfectly happy to be wrong if it means I can suck out on the river and get a call from my opponent holding an ace in that and any future situation that may arise. In the next interesting hand, we have ace 10 of hearts on the button. This is quite the hand. Early position opens to 15. I pop it to 30 on the button. He calls and we are heads up. The flop comes out 6, 3, ace, 2 clubs. Checks to me and I bet 22. Early position calls pretty quickly. Turn comes the 6 of hearts. That's a great card as it makes it much less likely that we're up against a sneaky set in this spot. He checks and I continue for 45. We see an unexpected raise here to $100. This is a very interesting raise for a few reasons. One, he only has about 80 or so behind. Two, I'm not exactly sure what he's trying to represent here. Is he saying that he has a 6? Is he saying he's slow played pocket 3s? Pocket aces? That seems very unlikely as we hold an ace. Is he maybe just on a club draw? He could have a better ace. He could have ace king, ace queen, ace jack, and just been slow playing pre-flop by calling my $30 bet. Not really sure, but the fact that he only has 80 or so behind definitely gives me a little bit of pause. I think I'm just a little bit too strong with my ace 10 to do anything else but call here. I kind of want to jam and just get it all in, as with only 80 behind, and now the pot's going to have over $250 in it, I just don't see any way we're not getting it all in. Here's where I'd love to know what you guys think. Drop a comment below and let me know what you would do in the situation. Would you A, fold, he either has a better ace or a 6, B, jam, he'll only have $80 behind, so we might as well get it all in now, or C, just make the call and see what he does on the river. No need to fold to a bet that hasn't been made. Take a second, pause the video, please comment down below, let me know what you would do in this spot. I do just call. The river brings a complete blank with the 2 of hearts. He jams for his remaining stack. It's a very annoying spot since I'm getting incredible odds here, and I figured this was going to happen. I just feel like I'm likely beat in this situation. He slow played me with ace king, ace queen, or something of that sort, maybe a weird 2 pair. When I call the turn, nothing has changed on the river, and I feel like I have to call this spot, getting over 4-1. There's really not much of a decision, I'm just sort of annoyed. I make the call, assuming I may be losing to a better kicker. To quote my good friend Aragon, "A day may come when we lose to a better kicker."
But it is not this day.
He rolls over ace 7 of spades. And we get a little needle from our buddy George here about why it took me so long to call. It just felt like I was behind, it just didn't feel good. This hand is something that I want to stress to you guys. A lot of inexperienced players will value own themselves with top pair. Don't go crazy calling down in every situation because that vlogger guy said so. But hands like this are perfect examples of players overvaluing their own hands. Learn to recognize these situations and don't be afraid to stick it in. Ace-10, while a good hand, I was concerned I might be losing to a higher kicker, ace-jack, ace-queen, ace-king, but it was just too strong to lay down in this spot, and we got amazing value from our opponent. In the next hand, we have ace-jack of hearts in the cutoff. I open to 15 and get 3 callers: the button, the small blind, and under the gun +1. The flop comes jack, deuce, deuce, 2 spades. It checks to me, and we hit this board pretty hard, so it'll be tough for our opponents to have much. Maybe a weaker jack, maybe a flush draw, so I continue for a small sizing of $16. Fold, fold, and then under the gun +1 calls. Turn is the queen of spades. It checks to me. Let's see how strong our opponent is here. If we face a check raise, it'll be a tough spot, but I don't want to allow a hand like jack-10, jack-9, king-jack with a single spade to draw for free. We're losing to queen-jack now, but if he has that, then he doesn't have a spade, and he'll still feel a little bit of pressure here if we bomb the river. So I fire again for another small sizing of $25. He calls. The river is the jack of clubs. All right. Making a boat, solid backup plan, I'll take it. He checks again, and at this point, if he has a jack, the sizing really doesn't matter since we're chopping. If he has nothing, again, the sizing doesn't matter since he'll fold to any bet. So I like to go with a very large sizing, hoping to get called by a flush or just a non-believing ace high, considering we went 16, 25, and now suddenly 100. Our opponent thinks for a bit, but unfortunately does make the fold. No value for us on this day. So this hand I'm not actually involved in, but my good buddy Brian hits his first ever live royal flush in a big all-in spot against a smaller flush. Congrats again, buddy. Pretty sick to flop the nuts, river the uber nuts, and actually get paid with a royal. Nice hand. In this one, we look down at jack-10 of diamonds in the cutoff. For those of you who haven't watched my first 2 vlogs, what are you doing? And secondly, jack-10 is my favorite hand, so we're very excited to look down at this holding. Early position raises to $10, under the gun +2, hijack, myself, and the button all call. We are 4 ways to a flop of deuce, 7, 3, 2 diamonds. Not bad for jack-10 of diamonds. Hijack makes it 40 to go. I'm not going anywhere, so I call. The button folds, and under the gun also calls. Turn is the 8 of hearts. Now we've improved by adding a gut shot straight draw to the nuts. Under the gun +2 checks. The hijack bets 60 this time. I actually briefly consider raising in this spot. Any diamond likely gives us the best hand, and any non-diamond 9 definitely gives us the best hand. Plus we still have 2 overs to the board, and that could even be good. Since there's still another player left to act though, I elect to just make the call. Under the gun +2 also comes along, which does begin to worry me a little bit. He's getting an excellent price, but check, call, flop, check, call, turn makes me think that he has a drawing hand, and it could possibly be better diamonds than we have in this situation. The river brings the 4 of diamonds. Under the gun +2 very quickly puts out a bet of $100. Oh boy, that's not great. This is exactly what I was afraid of. We just talked about this. I was concerned that under the gun +2 has a drawing hand and it could be better diamonds. Hijack thinks for a little bit but eventually folds. Now it's on me and I really hate this spot. I did read that this guy has a drawing hand. He immediately bets out the river. But on the bright side, this 4 also completes multiple straights. Ace-5, 5-6 was open-ended. So I really can't fold in this spot. All I'm thinking about here is whether to call or raise. I eventually decide to go with just a call because it's very possible he could have better diamonds. I put in the call and he shows us pocket 4s. I did not expect that hand whatsoever. No idea what this guy was doing here. I guess turning his hand into a bluff, hoping to get called light with the old reverse fake bluff catcher set of 4s on the river. Either way, very happy to take down another solid pot with my favorite hand. In the final hand of this episode, we look down at a fun one, pocket 4s, the 4 diamonds and the 4 of spades in the small blind. Pretty sure I've seen this hand somewhere before. RAMPAGE! Huh, funny, can't seem to remember. Anyhow, the straddle's on for 6 and we just call out of the small blind. We go 4 ways to a flop of deuce, 6, 3, 2 diamonds. Not bad at all for pocket 4s. We have second pair, a gut shot, and a very speculative backdoor straight flush draw. I lead out for $10. It folds to the button who calls. We're heads up. The turn is the deuce of spades. Well, we're not hitting that straight flush, unfortunately. We were so close. But we still have second pair and a gutter. Heads up, decent chance we have the best hand here, so I continue again for $20. He thinks for a little bit and reluctantly folds. We show the goods. Guess that hand really works after all. And we take down one last small pot to end the session. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you've gotten to this point, I really appreciate you sticking it through. Those are some interesting spots in this particular session. The ace-10 hand, the jack-10 hand. A couple little tough decisions there, but very glad to pull out the win. Numbers here, I was actually in for 600, but the rebuy, it didn't quite happen all at once. I didn't lose like some big hand and then have to rebuy or get stacked. Just little dribs and drabs here and there. Nothing really worthy of making the vlog, but before I knew it, I ended up having to add on an extra 200 and then an extra 100 another time. Anyone who's played a ton of poker knows exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you can end up losing a bunch of money without really being in any big hands, and you wonder what happened. Speaking of losing a lot of money, I just got back from the Rampage 2-5 meetup game at Borgata, and let me tell you, I got torched. Oh, that was a rough session, but still looking forward to putting it together. It was a ton of fun. Meeting Ethan was great. He was a super cool guy. And speaking of meetup games and vloggers, the next episode, a little sneak peek, will be the Brad Owen Andrew Nemi meetup game from Bellagio in Las Vegas. The first ever meetup game at Bellagio. Brad already posted his vlog, as did Andrew from this meetup game. They obviously are a little better at this than I am. Please take a second, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Helps me out a ton. And until next time. Not really sure where the camera is. Numbers here, numbers here. Numbers somewhere on screen.